Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. In this material world, it is very difficult to get rid of sin. We don't realize how dangerous is this material world. People simply think of strolling around in this material world and trying to explore. But this material world is a very dangerous place. Why? Because it is not easy to get rid of sin in this material world. Sinful activity and sinful proclivity is a de facto standard in this material world. Which means, and sinful activity means that the person will never be able to get out of this material world. And it is very difficult to get rid of sinful activity. That means this material world is such a place that having once entered, it is almost next to impossible to get out of it. Next to impossible to get out of it. That is why life requires, or we can say that in a that is why we see to progress in life towards elevation, actually requires, so that actually requires one uh, that actually requires a very serious awakening. A very serious evaluation of where our activities are heading for, and a very thorough overhauling. The Lord is explaining here Yagnartha karma is the only way to save ourselves from this degradation. The living entity cannot help, the living entity cannot stop working. The living entity has to work. That's a proclivity of the soul. But any arbitrarily decided or chosen work is going to lead to a very severe bondage. Therefore, it is a serious subject matter. It's not about let's balance material life, spiritual life, material activity, spiritual activity. That which is material is poisonous. Many times devotees misunderstand and misinterpret and misjudge and misconclude. What is the point in drinking poison and then looking out for medicine to counter it? And somehow or the other, if one happens to get saved, then drinking more poison and then crying for medicine to save oneself. And keep repeating the same loop. What is the point? That's not called as balance, that's called as foolishness. So we have to see arbitrary work is like drinking poison. Arbitrary work is like drinking poison. And then people have drunk the poison and they're suffering. And that suffering is alleviated by Krishna consciousness. But one who has got awakened to the knowledge should not keep drinking on the poison. So to reduce the poisonous effect from work is what the Lord is describing in Karma Yoga. And that requires Yagnartha Karma. And Prabhupada is clearly telling Yagnartha Karma means working only for the satisfaction of Krishna. Working only for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is Yagnartha Karma. And it is only this Yagnartha Karma which can save one from this poison. This poison is deadly. And it is not easy to get rid of it. So therefore, the serious focus goal of the sadhaka should be to how to offer all one's work to Krishna. how to offer one's work to Krishna. And there comes, and and we will see that there actually comes struggle. There actually comes struggle because the material trajectories run on sensual note, but Krishna conscious activities will run on a completely opposite note. So this is where the struggle comes, and this is where effort has to be put by the sadhaka with determination. Because easily and by default, that kind of setting and situation will not work out. Easily it won't work out. That is the point. And if one doesn't struggle, then one is poisoning oneself. So this is the, everywhere in this world is like that. So yajnat karma requires a great amount of efforts. Great amount of efforts. That is why first thing which is said is, so that's why two things which are being spoken. The first thing which is said is that okay, even if one is working in a company or in a college, one should practice very solid Krishna conscious program, morning, evening, both. What will happen by that? That will give one at least consciousness of Krishna, remembrance of Krishna throughout the day. That will inspire one to have the feeling of belongingness to Krishna. And if one is having the feeling of belongingness to Krishna, then one is working in a company, then one will not identify with the company and the goals of the company and the profit and the money and the sensuality and all that. And one will understand I'm Krishna's party. So what I should do? So I should share Krishna's message with people around. Then people will circle, this person is a Hare Krishna. Is it not? Right? And that is what will save us. So this is one thing which is said. The second thing is said is that when we start earning whatever we start earning, a very substantial portion of that we should offer to Krishna. Not 5%, 10%. If it is 100% poison and 5% we purify, what is the use? We are drinking the rest 95%, which is poisonous. So this is the point. That how to get rid of this poison. Because there is this very, very severe poison which is associated. Because you will see the nature of this material matrix is that the material matrix will not allow us to practice Krishna consciousness. That's a written down fact. Therefore, we are existing in this material world. It's a fight. It's a fight. Why it's a fight? Because we want to create space for Krishna consciousness. And the materialistic people don't allow that. They don't allow. For example, if one takes job in an MNC company, the MNC company will take 10 to 12 hours a day. How much time and energy we have for Krishna consciousness? So I was working, I used to go to Pune, I used to see all these working devotees, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, they'll come back and they have no energy to do anything in their life, not even pick up a book of Prabhupada. Some of them would force themselves or drag themselves with great difficulty to go and attend the Shayan Kirtan. They were staying in the temple. And that's all what they could do. That's all what they could do. And I was in ecstasy because every day different senior devotees would go for preaching programs and I would just sit in the jeep and I would be taken to the program and we'll come back by 11 o'clock or so p.m. 11 probably, most likely 11. And none of these working candidates would dare to do that. Why? Because again you have to run for company. So there was no energy. It was practically lifeless. Why? Because the company has drained out all the energy. So that was the point. So I was fortunate enough that okay, I got the opportunity to see all this before I started working. At time we didn't knew that there is any other path other than working in a software company. So we had to also join a software company, and that was equally taxing. Before 7 o'clock, we cannot leave the company. 8 o'clock, I would reach on the GGD. 8:30. So what to do? So what to do then? The body is so much, it requires a great strength. It requires a great strength actually to be able to upkeep Krishna consciousness. How much? So that requires struggle. That is the point. So I would go directly for follow-up. And then I would come back by 10:30, 11 o'clock or so, and then some or the other management issue would be there. Some devotees' mindset has got blasted. Somebody is thinking of leaving boys. Somebody has had a fight with another fellow, and another cook has run away, some or the other issue will be there, and I would resolve the issue till 12:30 in the night. 4 o'clock one program. 8 o'clock push off to company. So the point is, unless because what to do? Otherwise, you don't have. Otherwise, the material nature or material energy doesn't allow. And that's why at one point of time, Raishampu was telling me that, Raishampu told me don't work in a software company. Raishampu was telling you are getting interest and enthusiasm to serve. Better take something which is peaceful. So I shifted over, right? I started teaching like that. The point is, the material nature does not allow. So therefore, yajna, the karma requires a great amount of struggle. And we should be ready for it. Because if we follow the material dictum and the material codes, they will not allow us to practice. They will not allow us to practice. So if we have to seriously practice, we have to wage a war. Wage a war. There is no way in which people allow. Then there is this talk coming up, okay, you can do entrepreneurship, very nice. Entrepreneurship is born out of passion. Yeah, it's born out of ugra passion actually. Because the moment one goes to get seed funding, then the people who are giving money, are they going to let us practice Krishna consciousness? Are they going to let us read Prabhupada books every day 1 hour? They're going to be on the top of the heads and kill us. Then you have to drive entrepreneurship without their norms. Because if you follow their norms, then that means 14 hours working. Where is time for Krishna consciousness? Where is time for preaching? That is the point. So Yagnartha karma is a big struggle actually. So it's not some cheap affair that, okay, no problem, Krishna consciousness can just come in. If you want to seriously practice, one has to really struggle. It's a war. It's a war against material energy. That is the point. It's like waging a war. You know, that we rebel and protest against the very fabric of the protocols which these materialistic people have. They feel, okay, come and become our slaves, then we will give you your basic needs. And we don't want. So then our basic needs are there in the air and we are struggling to make space for it. Like that. That's the point. Now, entrepreneurship without seed funding, but Prabhupada did the same thing. Why don't we join that? Is Prabhupada not doing entrepreneurship without seed funding? Prabhupada also did that. Prabhupada wrote books and Prabhupada is distributing the books. The book distribution is such a now. So Prabhupada did entrepreneurship without seed funding. Yeah, Prabhupada did that. So Prabhupada waged that war. Prabhupada waged that war. And that is exactly what the devotees were doing. That's entrepreneurship without seed funding. With full space for Krishna. Prabhupada emphasized on Govindas. That's entrepreneurship without seed funding. So if you see, Prabhupada did that only. And so that's and Prabhupada encouraged devotees that, okay, you go out for so Prabhupada would encourage devotees, and these devotees taking inspiration from Prabhupada would go to different cities and open centers. And Prabhupada said, okay, establish Radha Krishna deities, do very nice morning program, take care of the deities very nicely, do kirtans, every day go out for Sankirtan, every day go out for distributing books, and funds will start coming in. With that funds, you can manage your own life also. And Krishna is glorified. This was Prabhupada's model. And many devotees followed this model actually. Many devotees followed this model. So Yagnartha karma is the only way to save ourselves from poison. And Yagnartha karma requires great amount of struggle. Because it is not according to the norms. So if we want to seriously practice, then it requires a serious overhauling of all priorities, ambitions, everything. Because this material world will not allow us to practice Krishna consciousness intensely. Practice Krishna consciousness intensely. So I had seen this practically in working life. They don't allow us, they don't leave any drop of blood remaining. So I was in Pune, I was working, I was able to do some preaching because I had a frenzied mindset now. I had adopted that mindset that, okay, hell with the body. Hell with sleeping. When I can work 10 hours for these materialistic people, then I will work 5 more hours for Krishna. And I don't mind if I remain healthy or not, if my body remains or not, if I die or not, or when I die, I don't mind. Because that was the only way by which you could do some service. Otherwise, material world doesn't allow. Now Radheshyam Prabhu wants us to focus to help in US preaching, And Resham was very happy with the idea that we spent 6 months. We are ready to spend 6 months. But now there is a very great difficulty. The problem is nobody is giving postdoc. Why? Because their policy is what you want postdoc, you come and become a slave for us. And that we don't want. We want 6 months for India preaching. No. So it's a great struggle. It's a great struggle. But this is what is Yajnatha Karma. This is what is Yajnartha Karma all about. So, the spiritual life according to material dictums and material codes is not going to work out. You know, they're not going to. You know, the material codes of conduct are not going to allow us to offer everything to Krishna. You know, we have to give up greed. We have to give up the all that yeah. So we have to give up all that so-called alluring and very colorful ideas about ambitions, because if we pursue that, it won't allow us to practice Krishna consciousness intensely. So serious Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness seriously. So that's the point. That we cannot get rid of sin in this material world so easily. There is a great struggle which has to come forth. We are waging a war. No, it's like waging the war. So situation is not much different. Like we see, in the historical times, there is this Mughal rule, and they are creating atrocities, and they are not allowing to practice Krishna consciousness, and a lot of problems. And therefore, it was like, okay, that if you want to survive, and if you want to breathe a Krishna conscious air, then you need to fight. And that's why all these many of our leaders were focused on that. Whether it was Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, Srila Guru Gobind Singh, or it was Shivaji Maharaj. Because I was just meditating that why they were so much war after war after war after war. Why? Because the point is that these people are not allowing basic practice of Krishna consciousness. Today's world is also like that. Today's world is also like that. These rascals don't allow us to practice Krishna consciousness. Intensely. Don't allow us to offer any contribution to Prabhupada's mission. And that's why we have to revolt. So Yajnartha Karma is about revolt. That we don't want to follow the basic norms of these materialistic ambitions, these MNC companies, or these and that's why Prabhupada emphasized that you create a culture which is Krishna conscious, where Krishna consciousness is the top priority, and you stand by that culture. So you create an atmosphere where people's basic needs are can get fulfilled, but the air which they are breathing, the trajectory which they are walking is free of sin, is free of that poison. Wherein whatever people are doing, that is being offered to Krishna. So then only we will see that uh, one, then only we will be able to see. So it has to be the patch up is not going to work. That okay, so that is why it is always two things. When we decide about our life priorities, if we fit in the material thing first, then it's a big challenge. Why? Because fitting in the material thing will not leave any space for the spiritual things. The other way around is first fit in the spiritual thing. My service to Krishna, this association of devotees, and my responsibility in Prabhupada's mission and my service to Krishna. If you fit that, the material thing goes for topsy-turvy initially. Because the material algorithms will not be able to fit this. So their algorithms will fit, their algorithms only work on full slavery model. So then they struggle to furnish, okay, how now the material needs will be fulfilled, or fit in, like that. That is that struggle. So that little bit struggle is there. But I feel that's a worthy struggle, because at least the prime goal of life is intact. At least the prime goal of life is intact. And this way, and this, even Srila Narad Muni recommends the same. What is that verse? Bhagavatam, I believe it is 1:5:17, I think. And Narad Muni says the same thing. Srila Narad Muni is telling. Yeah. Tvaktva sudharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajana pakvo thapate tato yadi yatra kvavabhadram abud amusyakim kovardhapto bhajatam sudharmata. So Srila Narad Muni is telling, what is this Tvaktva Sadharmam? This Tvaktva Sadharmam is revolt against these material codes and these materialistic patterns which don't allow us to practice Krishna consciousness, which don't allow us to get rid of poison and sin. And that's a struggle. Srila Narad Muni is telling, what is the loss? If one fits in Krishna consciousness, one is struggling, and even if one fails in that struggle, still what is the loss? Still what is the loss? Whereas a person has done all material things very nicely, everything is very nice, resume very nice, everything very nice, house very nice, bungalow, bank balance, everything very nice, but the Krishna consciousness has gone for a topsy-turvy. So what is the gain for such a person? Narad is saying the same thing. Let's stop here for today. Yes.
For Krishna, he used to give everything to Prabhupada and then used to pay whatever is necessary for expectations. We have to understand that it's not my money that I'm giving some part to Krishna, it is Krishna's money, and I have to be careful that I don't use it for sense gratification. And the second, you said that struggle, it's a great struggle with working life. If we don't struggle, then we will miss the mission in our life. So, Hagrid Devi Shakti Mataji was mentioning how Guru Maharaj, when he was in working life, every day he was coming for book distribution. So, Mataji used to surprise that to him. So, directly from the office, Guru Maharaj is going to book distribution and then coming to temple program, immediately says, like, after coming home, immediately changing to Vaishnava dress comes, then we are ready. But if we are lost in the world, and even if repeated calls come for the mission, according we are not able to hear.
That's very true.
Because we are not available of it.
Yes, that's very true.
That's what Haldan Maharaj was saying. Shishya is rejoicing in his all world, his own word, not understanding that Guru needs him for the mission. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Alone, how many fruits I get distributed alone? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling and he is. And that's for our purification.
Yes. Grantha Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.